Welcome back to Just Giants with Grump and the Cranky Fan, your favorite Giants podcast. I am your host, the Football Grump. With me, as always, is Mike, the Cranky Fan, and we are ready to preview the Giants' home game this coming Sunday, Week 14, against the New Orleans Saints, who are also falling apart. It seems to be an epidemic. How you doing, Cranky?
Grump, if it wasn't for the Giants, I'd be in a pretty good mood. We got, coming off a Florida State beating. My Knicks are kicking ass. Lightning are kicking everybody's ass lately.
You played the Sharks. That doesn't count.
It's okay. They still lace it up and they skate around for 60 minutes.
True.
Life would be pretty good right now if it wasn't for the fact that we follow this football team.
I had this tweet. I was prepping for this episode. I think it was yesterday. Jeez, my brain is mashed potatoes. I think it was yesterday, and I was prepping for this, and I just had the schedule in front of me, and I was like, "My God, we have this many games left." It is truly unfathomable at this point that there is this much Giants football left.
I said that about 2-3 weeks ago before Thanksgiving. I'm like, we still have 7 games left. Like this season is so over. Any emotion I have for this team has been sucked out of every pore in my body. And we have 7 more of these. We have one more home game and then an away game. Who cares? It's like, we have 2 months of this. God.
And I think that's important as we preview this game and for the episodes coming up. Like, I don't want to undersell our own show here, but there is a point in which I don't think it's necessary to get emotionally distraught over a game-by-game basis, right? So we're at the point now where the Giants have benched and then released the best quarterback that they have on the roster. They've decided that Daniel Jones was not part of the future. They have, quote-unquote, given up on him. They're ready to move on, is the more diplomatic way to phrase that. And at that point, when you say that, this is what we've always said over, we've had this podcast since 2017. Giants have been good 1 year out of all of those years, and that was 2022. And in those times, we had discussed when they are and are not tanking. This is the first time that they are tanking, because we always said that tanking happens at the front office level. That is an organizational decision that you are making roster moves for the betterment of the future and not for the current. At the coach level, coaches are always on Sunday coaching with the roster they have to win. That is their job.
Yep. Yeah.
Tanking does not happen at the coach level. It happens above them.
Right. If you watch a game, you're not seeing coaches like, we're not going to go for it here on 4th down. We're just going to punt, or, I'm just going to, I'm not going to bring in this running back on a 3rd and 1 or something. You're not seeing tactical decisions. It's that tanking decision is made even before they step on a field, even for practice during the week. Decisions are made. So, yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, and decisions such as, guys choosing to go on IR or choosing to do have surgery, shutting guys down, not necessarily early, but when you're not tanking, those guys play hurt because they're playing, it's their job. It's what they do for a living.
And they're playing to keep their job too. Not only just that's their job, it's they want to keep their job.
Yeah, absolutely. And for further evaluation as to whether or not this guy is on the team next year or part of the future plans, and this is why what happened with Doug Peterson in Philadelphia was controversial, because that was a coaching tank decision when he pulled his 2nd-string quarterback because they were winning in a meaningless game and then put in his 3rd-string quarterback. That was what made that controversial, is because that was tanking at the coaching level, which we don't see happen all that often or pretty much ever. So being that this is a tank and that the Giants are absolutely 100% punting on this season, there is no need to get incredibly frustrated or emotionally so attached to a game-by-game basis from that point forward. Like, there's just... It doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
I'll take it even a step further. Not only should you have any, wasted emotions and being angry or stuff, but it really shouldn't change your opinion at all based on the results going forward, because those results are manufactured based upon the conditions on the ground. There are no new data points that should give you a different opinion about this coaching staff, this general manager, this owner. I mean, this is the plan. The plan is being executed. The result of the plan for 2024 is not the priority of executing the plan. This plan is being executed for 2025 and beyond. So don't waste brain cells and don't, stress out about, wow, this team has been losing by 30 the last 5 weeks of the season. This coach has to go. Or,
Let
even
me
the
ask
lost
you:
to locker room thing. It's
well, that's what I was going to ask you. Like, is there, from your standpoint, is there any evaluation that you could make on this team going forward? Like, what are you looking at? Can you get a sense of the coaching staff? Not just Dable, but like other guys. Anything?
I think it's more on individual players. I think the coaching staff, they're not getting a pass because of this, but I really can't evaluate anymore.
I would say the same thing. Like, how can you even? I guess the only thing you can really, even like in-game decision making, I don't even know that it matters.
Yeah, I mean, you're going for it on 4th and 1 from the 38. No, you're punting. It's like, maybe you can say, well, they're consistent and they're still coaching as if, and then they're not doing anything special to try to overcompensate for the lack of talent that's on the field now, whether it's guys that have been pulled or just the incredible amount of injuries yet again this team has. It's almost like you're kind of coaching to prevent being embarrassed. Then really, that the chances of winning are very. But I haven't really noticed that either. I just think you kind of don't even have to. You just take off your evaluation glasses when you're talking about the coach. I think we do that a lot, maybe too much as fans. Is everything is not just watch the game, we win, we lose. Everything is under the I have to evaluate it. I have to have my opinion. I have to, and sometimes we're at this point in the season where there isn't nothing to evaluate. These are empty calories now. We're playing out the string.
Yeah, this is going through the motions.
If you watch let's use the Knicks for example, because they've been kicking ass lately. In these few games, you get to the fourth quarter, Knicks are up by 35. Are you really evaluating, what plays we're calling, or why is Tibbs calling timeout here? Or no, it's just you're playing it out. Just let's get this game over with, and we'll get on to the next game. And I think that's kind of what you kind of need to do at this point. But players, though, I think you can evaluate certain things.
And that's going to transition me here. So there's two really big pieces of news here. Let's start with. We'll start at the linebacker position. Bobby Okereke is hurt. 3 players did not practice, and that was Deonte Banks with a ribs injury. Raheem Nunez-Roches has a neck injury. He didn't practice. And Bobby Okereke has a back injury. He did not practice. It seems unlikely that any of those 3 are going to play on Sunday at this point. And in that, they have opened the practice window for inside linebacker Dyontae Johnson, not Ravens wide receiver Dyontae Johnson, who was suspended and will not play against the Giants for refusing to go into the game against the Eagles, which is interesting. But so Dyontae Johnson, linebacker, looked. He's a second-year undrafted free agent from Toledo, I believe, and he looked promising this preseason, this summer. He looked like he was pretty good. Had an injury and was IR'd early on. The Giants organization kind of favored Matthew Adams over him for his special teams ability. But not really for his linebacking ability, and thank God, because he was a horrible linebacker. I didn't even think he should make the team, but they valued that special teams ability. He's not playing, so Dyontae Johnson is stepping up. I think he's probably going to end up getting playing time at the linebacker position. They haven't announced that he's going to be playing or anything like that, but beat reporters have said that he's been healthy for weeks. So this is someone that you can truly evaluate. I've said for a while now that they need to seriously address the linebacker position. A lot of talk about the defensive tackles in the run game, but I think it's also happening at the second level. Okereke is not making great Okereke, to me, looks a lot better in the passing game than he does in the running game. McFadden is better in the run game than the pass game, I think, but when he makes mistakes, they're like angle mistakes, and so
Hmm.
he doesn't have the speed to make up for those mental errors. They need to address there needs to be a just a physical run stopping presence at inside of that defense, and it'll be
Well,
interesting to see if he can fill those shoes. So I'm definitely going to be evaluating Dyontae Johnson if he's on the field. I really want to see how he looks in this game.
the guys like Jalen Hyatt, who now are finally getting on the field, like, show me something, show me anything.
Did have I think a first down conversion on Thursday against the Cowboys, right? On like a quick slant route. But I mean it was like a hot route kind of sorta, you know. And also slant routes are not really what we've seen from Jalen Hyatt. It's been pretty much like go routes and then like really
Mhm.
deep dig routes and stuff like that. So, your Bronx clap there is absolutely 100% warranted, but this is a, baby step if not a tumble in the correct direction.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, again, we're looking at data points now. He's like, oh my God, there's 7 games left in the season or something. But on the flip side, there's 7 games left in the season. That's double the amount of time you're evaluating players during preseason. And these are live bullets against, the other teams the Giants are playing against are not tanking. They,
Mhm.
teams like Baltimore, they have a lot to play for coming up. Some of these teams, Philly may not be at that point, but there are teams that this team will be facing that are not just mailing it in the rest of the year in full evaluation mode. So, um,
I
you
mean,
know,
who else is tanking right now? I would say the only thing that's close is the Jets.
I think Jacksonville too, especially now that
Well, Trevor
Trevor
Lawrence.
Lawrence is out for the year. Now it's on.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, they're tanking at this point. But I
Hmm.
mean that decision was made this week, I guess,
Right. I
and
mean,
it only
again,
came about because he got his clock cleaned.
right. They were also had only 2 wins also, so they were kind of like, if they
But
weren't tanking at this
if
point,
Trevor Lawrence slid earlier and doesn't get his brains put all over the turf, are they still tanking? I don't know. Probably not. They're not winning, but I don't know that they're tanking.
I think when you're getting to this close to it and there's a clear delineation of who could be the first pick, I think you start thinking about it honestly.
Sure, but I mean we can't know. There's
Yeah,
no
we
way to
don't
know
know.
it. You know
We
what I mean?
we don't. We're not just Jaguars. We don't know what we don't follow that team as much as this team, obviously.
I mean,
But
you also
I would think
can't
that
know
I
what they would have done if he didn't get hurt. I mean, it's a
right.
hypothetical. It's a straw
But
man.
I bet you this similar conversations to what the Giants had. Not necessarily are we going to sit Trevor Lawrence and then cut him, but
Mhm.
you know
Well,
at what
actually,
point
you'd be surprised. Oh no, they just kind of signed him to that extension.
yeah. Yeah,
Um,
that cap it would be ridiculous. Yeah.
yeah, I don't think they would cut him, but they might be entertaining the idea of trading him. You know what I mean?
Are you interested in him?
Sure, I think he can be reclaimed.
I think so. I mean,
Um,
over the last 20 years of quarterbacks who came out, he's definitely in that high upper echelon for me. Like I thought he was going to be a star.
me too.
I thought he was, the second coming of like Peyton Manning coming out, but maybe a little better,
A runner.
uh, you know, yeah, better athlete. And I'm again, the thing with Daniel Jones was we never gave him a chance to succeed. Well, he had every opportunity compared with Trevor Lawrence has had it gone through.
Yeah, with Urban Meyer, etc.
Yeah, it's just complete. It never built around for him.
Um, and then I think the other really interesting part of evaluation now, and I don't think uh, Drew Lock is getting the start over Tommy DeVito, who did practice fully. So Tommy DeVito does have a forearm injury. He is on the injury report, but he practiced fully today. So this is, in my opinion, not a injury like a decision. This is just a Drew Lock played better against the Cowboys than Tommy DeVito did against.
Oh, no, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Go ahead.
just because you can play, you may not be though. If you're throwing at 80% of what your arm strength is, or whatever, your technique because you're still injured, you can't fully perform. You can play, but what is 80% of Tommy DeVito? That's a whole heck of a lot of nothing. So it may be they're just waiting for him to be fully healthy before they play him. And I know because he was cleared to play and he's practicing that means he could play, but you know
I mean, he will be active and the
Mhm.
backup quarterback
Sure.
for
I mean,
next year.
he's cleared to play. He could play, but you know,
So is
at
that
this
what you?
point,
But you make a good hypothetical, but is that what you believe?
I believe so.
Okay.
I don't think they're zigging and zagging because Drew Lock was, not god awful, but just not that good. That we're gonna roll with him now. I think the plan is the plan.
I was pretty surprised. I thought Drew Lock looked like a backup quarterback in that game. He
Hmm.
made good plays and he made boneheaded ones, and that's pretty
Yeah,
much what every backup quarterback looks like.
I was, the performance in the preseason and when he did the mop up duty and the
That shit was awful.
right, and that was wow. He looks really bad. I mean, we evaluated him. We signed him for $5 million.
Yeah.
They expected more than what we saw. That wasn't all of a sudden. They didn't overpay for that level of crap. That was, underperforming what the expectation was of him. I think what we saw last week was a little more. But again, it goes back to what are we doing here? You
Mm.
know, are we have we changed course to now we want to evaluate him as the backup quarterback for next year and re-sign him?
No, I don't think so. I just think that
I
I think that when a quarterback is ineffective, it makes it hard to evaluate everybody. So, I mean, I don't think that this is more about evaluating Drew Lock. It's about evaluating, the running backs and wide receivers, tight ends, the offensive line, in general. If you're running an offense that looks like an offense, you can kind of pick apart who's not picking up the slack. I mean, for instance, it was easier to say that Malik Neighbors had drops in that game against the Cowboys because the passes were on time and in his fucking mitts
mm-hmm,
and he
mm-hmm.
dropped them. But when the passes are 3 feet behind him or too late,
Doing all this stuff.
you
Yeah.
start to give excuses for Malik Neighbors making drops. So
Right.
now, I mean, you can evaluate Malik Neighbors more accurately and going, I'm not saying like, oh, are they gonna cut him? No, but I mean, at this point now, you've Daniel Jones, Andrew Locke throwing him the ball, and he's dropping shit. Tells me, listen, Malik, you need to work with the jugs machine this offseason.
Well,
That's
that's
got
what
to be
they
a part
do.
of your training.
And that's what they do when they have those exit interviews at the end of the season. You go away with a to-do list in that off season. And it might be for some guys,
Summer reading.
you need to lose 20 pounds. You need to gain 15 pounds of mass.
This
You got to
sounds like
fucking
you're attacking me right now. I'm not enjoying the advice you're dishing out. Losing 20 pounds and putting on 15 pounds of muscle.
Oh.
Sounds like you're talking to me right now.
Well, sometimes you have to look inwards, I guess.
It's the holidays, bro. Give me a break.
Yeah. Wait till we do our season-ending episode.
I'm
when we're
stress
two
eating.
blimps. My God, we're two 500-pound blimps.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, I honestly think that this is a situation where here's the bar he can play Tommy DeVito. Here's really what the bar for him to be effective. He's not. He's in that middle ground. Let's wait a week.
That's fair. Yeah, and I also don't think that this is Drew Lock for the rest of the year. At least not yet.
No. That's what I mean. That's
Yeah.
exactly what I mean.
All right.
Give him another week, and I think he'll go back to DeVito.
What's interesting to me is the Saints have a fairly lengthy injury report. They are also, I would say, falling apart. They fell apart. The interesting thing to me about the Saints injury report is that it's entirely on the offensive side of the ball. Literally entirely. All the tight ends are hurt. The entire interior of the offensive line is hurt. The backup quarterback, if that's what you want to call Taysom Hill, I guess that's not what you call Taysom Hill because he's
the
not,
emergency. He's like the emergency quarterback more than the backup.
the gadget quarterback.
The gadget quarterback. Yeah.
It's just bizarre. I don't think I've ever. I mean, I guess I have seen shit like this happens to the Giants every couple.
Yeah,
of
I was
years.
gonna say on an annual basis. December is all about overeating, getting really fat, having Christmas dinner, lighting the tree, and the Giants having
a seventh string,
a skeleton crew playing.
I think that may perhaps make this horrible defense look okay, playable. We'll have to see. I mean, it's still Alvin Kamara out there, and I think that there'll be a heavy dose of Alvin Kamara.
Yeah, sure.
Other note on the New Orleans Saints: Dante Pettis, a New Orleans Saint; Shane Lemieux, a New Orleans Saint. Some revenge games, some return to MetLife.
Yeah, well, I'll be very excited for those videos. The welcome home Shane Lemieux ones. So let me guess, Shane Lemieux will have the game of his life also, and all you people will bitch about, another giant we misevaluated or
Yeah, he'll have
whatever.
like one pancake block on our. Uh, who the hell is even playing defensive tackle for us? If Jordan Riley is hurt, Elijah Chapman is going to get
Yeah,
pancaked by Shane Lemieux in a
exactly.
garbage time with 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter of a
See, I
27 to
told you,
nothing. Like
another one. You got
another
another
one we
one.
let go. We don't know
Yeah,
what we're doing.
fire everyone.
Dante
Mm.
Pet. I will say this. I will get a little bit mad if Dante Pettis has like a kickoff return or a punt return. That's like big because I feel like the Giants didn't even try him.
Hmm.
It wasn't even this regime, but
Yeah, I mean
it just made me
that's.
mad because they went out and they got the guy who has like the University of Washington punt return like record for
Mhm.
returns for touchdowns and just never returned a punt. It's just bizarre. How could he have just forgotten how to do something he was the best at? Um,
Weird things happen once you put on the blue and
the
white of the
old blue and
Giants.
white. um, do you want to hit me with a prediction on this score? Is there anything about this game in general you want to point out?
Well, I'm trying to make a prediction more of how long we're going to be in our seats before I give it the. Are you ready? And we start walking out of
Well, New Orleans stinks, so
section 124.
we
I
could
know.
be mid third quarter, we could be fourth quarter, we could be there to the end. This could be a nail
I
biter field goal
I
situation.
could see us hanging around to the fourth quarter. Like, they get that touchdown, and that's when the mass exodus leaves around the 3:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time mark, where I give you the let's get out of here. We'll come back next year. Look, I'll put that for my prediction. I'll say 3:20. That'll be the over under
It's
for
such
when
a
we stay or when
bizarre
we
way to
leave.
look at it. You're giving me the actual Earth time and not the game time. Like, at what point in the game is that? Like,
That will be probably about
given the way the
seven
Giants have
seven
been
minutes
running the
left.
ball, that could be the last 30 seconds.
That's true too. They might even use a running clock on this one.
Yeah.
Just be like the Arena League. Just play.
What do you got for score?
I
You were gonna say I don't care.
I really I didn't want to say I don't care. I mean, this is two of the worst rosters in the league right now, right? I mean,
Yeah, pretty much. Which is astounding because I think the Saints put up a 50 burger at one point.
after the first 2 weeks of the season, remember, it's like
Like
this is the best team
Dallas or
in the
something.
league. Yeah, remember the overreaction Monday after the first week and everything. It's like, and then the coach gets fired 6 weeks later. Um, Losers lose. We lose 17-10.
Ugh. Yeah, I think that this one. I think that this defense is really really banged up.
Mm-hmm.
With Deontay Banks possibly not playing, I know everyone. It's popular to shit on him. I know some people are like, "Oh, he's a bust," despite being
All
a.
right, then who's playing behind him?
Yeah, exactly. He's not a bust. If you
Yeah.
have a quality cornerback two with a top 20 pick, that is still very very good. I think I feel like I make this point all the time. Corner is the hardest position to just come in and play.
Sure.
Um, and it's also one of the hardest ones to evaluate, in my opinion, who's going to succeed and who's not.
Mm-hmm.
There's plenty of guys like Justin Blackman that go top 10 and can't do anything. DeAndre Baker, first round pick, can't even stick around the UFL. Um, and DeAndre Baker, you want to shit on the draft pick? Be my guest. I wasn't a fan myself, but he was absolutely a good corner in college.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think it's one of the hardest ones. And Deontay Banks is not horrible. He's just not a cornerback one, at least not
Right.
right now either. I mean,
Especially in this really the beginning part of his career too, where
correct.
he's had
He's
a
also very
pretty
very young too.
he's had a pretty impressive run of guys he's had to face as wide receiver one. I mean, probably 8 of the 10 best wide receivers in the league he's had to face this year.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like who wants to go up against CeeDee Lamb twice a year, AJ
Oof.
Brown twice a year, or Devontae Smith? It's tough.
And that's just in the division. We're not talking about
That's
all
what I
the other.
mean. Terry
Yeah.
McLaurin too, twice a year. These guys are very good. This is a good group of number one wide receivers in this division.
Mm-hmm.
So, with him possibly not playing, I mean, we really this could go bad, but I'm going to say it's probably 27-13 New Orleans. That's what I'm thinking.
13, impressive.
It's,
So
two
two field goals and a touchdown, or are you thinking 2 touchdowns and a missed conversion, or?
No, no, I'm thinking 2 field goals. Yeah.
Okay, all right, that's impressive. Getting into the going across the 50. That's.
Hey man, I mean that's like 1 kickoff return. That could be a roughing the passer penalty, moves you from the 50 to.
Could be a pass interference, like a big pass interference.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, sure.
I'm just saying, like, getting in field goal range is something even bad teams can do.
Apparently, Detroit did something crazy at the end of this game. I heard Al Michaels went to that 1980 high-pitched nasally voice when he was calling it. So
touchdown.
Yeah, and he's like half asleep this year. And he's like, so I don't know what happened. The TV's on behind me, and
I'd shut Detroit it off to do this.
Detroit won.
Oh, it's over?
It's over. Well, it's 11:28 Eastern time right now.
Sorry, my app didn't update. It said 31-31. It must have. Okay. We got. There's something I wanted to segue there, and it fits perfectly. But fuck that. We got to do around the NFC East. Dallas is home against the Cincinnati Bengals. Dallas with Cooper Rush still. How you feeling? I'm feeling Cincinnati.
Hey man, they can't win at home, and beating us at home doesn't count. So I'm going Cincinnati.
Philadelphia is playing at the Link against the Carolina Panthers. Bryce Young turning it around? No, I'm saying Philly wins.
Yeah, that's
Is it possible that this is a trap game for Philly, being on a huge roll right now with like 7 straight or something like that?
I think trap games happen more in college than the pros.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay. Washington has a bye week, so nothing to go with there. So here's my my transition here. Jake Bates, I assume, has kicked a field goal of some significance in this game for the Detroit Lions. I've talked about this at length. Jake Bates is an incredible kicker who only has an NFL contract right now because of spring football. The only reason he is on an NFL team.
You just won the game for him.
Yeah. Special teams player of the month as well before this game. Allegedly, per the UFL, they are expanding into, I assume, 2 cities, not 1, to keep an even number of teams.
Okay.
They are currently in the following markets. And I'm doing this off the top of my head, so bear with me here. They're in St. Louis. They're in Michigan, currently playing at Ford Field, but whatever. All the venues could change.
Okay.
They're in DC. They're in Memphis, Birmingham, and then
or Birmingham.
Okay.
Birmingham. Where are you from?
Birmingham.
North of London?
I guess. I don't know. Arlington, San Antonio, and Houston. Yes, those are the 8 markets.
Yes.
Where would you expand, Cranky Fan, into 2 new markets? What's the top of your list?
I would go to markets that do not have NFL teams, and I actually would probably move the teams that are in NFL markets away.
Well, yeah, but I mean, assuming you can't move any of the markets that are already there, because they are trying to build in the community. They're trying to have guys do activities in the market to build those markets.
I would have one in Memphis.
They have one in Memphis. I said that.
They already have one in Memphis.
Yes.
The Showboats are still around?
Yep.
Okay, so that'd be an obvious. I'd have one in Orlando.
Okay, that's Danny Garcia, I believe, is an Orlando native. She's at least a Florida native, and the rumors have been that she's been lobbying hard for Orlando.
Okay. There already is one in Birmingham. San Antonio seems like there's one there already.
Yep.
You said. Let's think around the league where there should be one. There isn't. What's a college hotbed, but what's like in a college adjacent city doesn't have the NFL? So somewhere, let's see, around the league, nowhere in the Northeast, nowhere in the Mid-Atlantic. San Diego.
Okay.
I would consider that. I'd consider Sacramento.
Interesting. Okay.
I'd consider
Why
Austin.
Sacramento?
It's a huge city. It's
Okay.
actually an enormous. I think it has a bigger population in the city limits than San Francisco does.
Okay. Because
Um,
I've always thought that, and I don't see that idea floated around all that often.
Portland.
Oregon,
They they can play where
the Timbers play.
yeah, the Timbers play. They just renovated that stadium to be more soccer friendly, so I'm sure you can slip it in there.
The DC Defenders play at the DC
Audi
soccer
Field,
stadium.
yeah.
Yeah, Audi Field. It's a beautiful park.
Oh yeah, yeah. Let's see other cities that would be good. I'm trying to think of all the places I've been for work, and I'm like, damn, there's no sports here. It's a boring place to live. Uh, is there? We said Birmingham. There's a
Mm-hmm.
team there.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Champions, actually.
oh, congrats. Columbus,
That's
maybe.
yeah. There you go. So there is a soccer field there as well. That is a
Yep,
burgeoning sports town.
yep.
I'm a big fan of using Columbus. I like all the cities you mentioned. They have I said already. They have a soccer team. But they have a brand new soccer stadium. They have
You
a
know, would
fairly
have been
new hockey team as well.
would have been great, but there Vegas would have been perfect. But there's a team there now.
They
Well,
had so
allegedly a team.
the XFL had a Vegas team. They had one of the worst fields that they were using. It was absolute
Oh,
garbage.
Sam Boyd. Yeah, that place is a shithole.
Um, I think it's really interesting that you mentioned three markets that I'm like the only. Well, San Diego is a popular one for people, but Sacramento and Portland were ones that I've thought of. Salt Lake City
Yeah, they have a soccer stadium, Real Salt Lake. They just built a
also,
stadium there.
yeah, and also just another burgeoning town. They have a brand new hockey team as well.
Yeah.
It's a brand new market. I'm a big fan of both of those markets. I still think that you can probably find a way to get into either Iowa or Oklahoma.
Oklahoma City. How about
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah,
that's a great one. Iowa is pretty small.
Iowa's pretty small, but yeah,
But again, who cares? I mean, this is going to be you're not really worrying about attendance and even ratings. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's just. I mean,
yeah,
they're all playing in one place now anyway, so for TV, it doesn't really necessarily matter.
yeah. So Iowa's lower on my list. I tried to pick places that had a venue that was possible and capable, and also had other sports in general, like a professional market. So
What
like
about Toronto?
I don't think that they're trying to move into Canada. And they have the Argonauts actually just won the Grey Cup 2 weeks
Hmm.
ago. Um,
I think the experiment when the Bills played a couple of games in Toronto failed just because of the Bills fan base was like, fuck that. I
well,
don't think it
sure,
was
they got
anything.
robbed out of like 4 home games.
Yeah, exactly. So but I don't think that meant it was a failure. I mean, Toronto and Montreal are big. Like Toronto's a huge market.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Toronto, I think is, if I'm not mistaken, is like the fourth biggest city in North America.
Mm.
Like
Mm.
New York, L.A., New York,
Chicago
Mexico City, L.A., and then Toronto. I think
over
Toronto's huge.
Chicago.
Toronto's huge.
Yeah, interesting. But yeah, I'm glad you. Well, that's kind of awesome. You and I had the same wing leg there.
Yeah, I definitely think that. Like I feel the same way about MLS. I think that that's a league that doesn't need to be in big cities. I think you become a small fish in a big pond. The Red Bulls, although they do play in New Jersey. To
Hmm.
all you Red Bull fans, you're in
Well,
New
it's New
Jersey.
York,
You're
New
not New
Jersey.
York. No, they're call themselves the New York Red Bulls, but they are in New Jersey.
Oh,
And I'll say it again. You guys are in New Jersey. Um,
this is a very weird argument coming from a Giants fan.
well, it's different because there
Okay,
is a soccer team that plays in New York City. There
that's
is no
fair.
NFL. There is no NFL team that plays in New York City.
Well, there's an
So
NFL team that plays in New York.
all right, that's fine. Yeah, but for when having two NFL teams that base call New York their home when they really are, it's New York for New York City, but they
Mhm.
both play New Jersey. Different than a team that calls themselves New York when there really is a team that plays in New York City. That's
That's
silly.
fair.
But my point is that they are playing in the MLS Cup this Saturday, and there will not be one phone call on the fan talking about the MLS Cup. It will not be on the back page of any newspaper here.
Mhm.
Nobody knows nobody cares.
But at the
But
same time, the MLS has grown very steadily over the last 20 years.
well, that's my point.
Very
Is that
steadily.
if you look in markets like, you know, even like the smaller major league markets, like in Cincinnati, huge, but they're in Austin, they're killing it, like in Austin. Um, you know, not your traditional, like they would fail in the team, the New England Revolution. They don't draw flies there.
Mhm.
No one cares. It's either, it's Red Sox season or it's Patriots season, and then Celtics and all that other stuff. So that's a league where in these other cities, suburban cities where lots of families can go, kids can go watch, families go.
Right.
That's where the growth of that league should be in this country. And I think the same thing for spring football is an alternative.
Hmm.
It can be a supplement, but it is an alternative. So don't waste your time and money trying to attract a fan that probably just doesn't care.
Exactly.
But if you put them in, the Columbus, they draw really well with hockey. Um, you know, Orlando, who does really well with soccer. I think you can develop a fan base because they're the only game in town.
And I think also those are two huge football markets with Ohio right in the Midwest, that just feels like
Columbus
football
is the biggest.
country.
Columbus is the biggest city in Ohio by population.
And, Florida is football central as well. And if there's three
Sure.
spots that I think you really like scream football to me, it's the upper Midwest and the Indiana and Ohio area,
Mm-hmm.
Florida and Texas. Those are
Yeah.
with like Oklahoma sort of bleeding into that Texas as well.
A follow up. Toronto is the fifth biggest city in North America. Mexico City is 1, New York 2, LA 3, Chicago 4.
Okay, so Chicago was bigger. Anyway,
And Brooklyn. Yeah.
I don't know. I just thought it was interesting. Thought you would chime in there.
Yeah, I'm a chimer.
And that's going to do it for this episode. I will follow up faithfully for all those who don't pay attention where the UFL is expanding in the future. But otherwise, the New York Giants are playing on Sunday. You and I will be in attendance and at the tailgate. And
it's our last tailgate of the year that we will
is.
be participating in. We will not.
I got a message from the Big Blue UK and Ireland guys about the
Oh.
Ravens game they will be at, which unfortunately
Son of a bitch.
that's our holiday party.
That's our family holiday party. That's right. It's a pajama party.
But for all the Giants fans that have tickets for that Ravens game or are planning on going or have nothing going on that weekend and want to go, they'll be there, and they are excellent dudes to hang out with, good drinkers, smart guys, good hang. So they'll be there, and that's their one trip per year, you know what I mean, across the pond. So,
And if you need tickets to that game, let me know because I'm looking to sell mine because we're not going to be there.
we will be unable to go. That one's been crossed off since before the schedule. So
That's right. Yeah, and for you Patreon members, which are none of you, we'll have pictures of us in our pajamas because it's a pajama party.
Ugh.
Yeah,
that's not going to happen.
that's quite a sales pitch.
With that, anyway, we will be back with a review episode on Tuesday morning on iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify, and of course YouTube. Until next time, go Giants.
Giants.